Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for July of 2019. So this is the Sun and Rising Sign horoscope for Virgos. You may notice that I'm not in my office right now. I'm on the road at my mom's place in Michigan with my wife and kids. We're here for the 4th. I'm doing a few updates here from the guest room. So, all right, so you can see the chart on the screen now. Let's talk about what's going on this month. There's a few key transits that I'm highlighting, mostly all involving the lunar cycles. On July 2nd, there's a big solar eclipse in the sign of Cancer. This is happening in your 11th house. That's the house of friends, allies, benefactors, the resources of companies or people in power, governments, etc. So with a new moon in that house, the likelihood is that in the weeks and months to come, there are going to be some new developments, probably surrounding the topics of your friends, allies, or people who are going to be coming into your life to help you, probably professionally. New developments relative to your existing colleagues or organizations or companies that you belong to, potential to get support or promotions or raises or any kind of grant money or any kind of support that you would apply for or be interested in. Looks pretty good when there's a solar eclipse rolling through that 11th house. Now, this could also signal significant changes in your social life in general, just a change in terms of who you feel most at home with. This could also have to do with people that you meet somehow through family. That has a lot to do with the sign of Cancer, as well as your parents and the assets or allies or things that are there to benefit you somehow, potentially through your parents or family. Those are all different themes that I would guess put at the top of the list really for this month. Now, when you go forward from there, there's a couple other transits that I've got my eye on that are also going to be, I think, pretty impactful. One of them is the Mercury-Mars conjunction, right as Mercury is turning retrograde between July 8th and 9th. That's falling in your 12th house. That's a house of self-undoing, a house that's related to any kind of influence that could potentially take you off track. And so you want to be really careful because Mercury is your ruling planet, right? Turning retrograde with Mars, potential for anything from injuries, accidents, ill health, bad choices, all of that's there a little bit. Some of the stuff is fated. It's a part of our karma, but some of it is also in our hands. And the best thing you can do is to be careful about volatility, the ego, temperamental conversations or power struggles. This Mercury-Mars dynamic has a square to Uranus in the 9th house. There's a place of beliefs, higher education, the law, etc. This could indicate some amount of legal conflict or something to do with hospitals or psychiatric units or something about your mind, your beliefs really changing. Or it could also be that it's the like, for example, this would not be a surprising transit under which to see someone begin the process of going through a divorce or a separation, or somebody quitting at their job or tearing up a contract or breaking a lease, or the potential to break agreements or contracts or negotiations somewhat suddenly, or to also to cheat. If you have your own principles in life that you live by, to suddenly just say, well, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And it might be really bad for you, not following your own rules or your own sort of inner code, the need to rebel or break free or something like that. On the other hand, maybe there's something really oppressive that you're living by, some way of being, some inner voice, that some inner critic or judge, or someone who needs to be rebelled from. And maybe it's time to stand up to someone or something that's unfair or unjust. But it could put you on the outside looking in. It could marginalize you, or it could make you unpopular, or it could even result in, some kind of, you might get demoted, or you might lose an opportunity for a job or something like that. Mercury also rules your career house. So that's why I'm kind of adding in that career angle. So in general, the main advice that I would have for this is just be careful of just sort of, the sort of big ego and really like flared up tempers or hyper reactivity, especially if you feel offended or something like that. That can get anyone, any horoscope of the month. I'm saying this too on a certain level, but especially because in your 12th house, you're going to be a little bit more prone to potentially being a little bit more self-destructive or feeling like an outsider or outcast. And because you feel a little bit marginalized, you might be more tempted to lash out. So be mindful of that. Now, the next wave of transits comes between July 10th and the 15th. You're going to see the Sun in Cancer going through oppositions to Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn in your 5th house. Then on July 16th, there's a lunar eclipse in Capricorn in your 5th house. And then the 17th to the 21st, Venus will get in on the action by opposing Saturn and Pluto as well. So between the 11th and 5th house, this is really interesting. When you have oppositions between these two houses, one is a house that's really related to purpose, the 11th. What am I here to do, and who are the people in life that might help me get there? It's a very ambitious house. The 5th house has a lot more to do with spontaneity, joy, creativity, pleasure, fun, not necessarily for a purpose. It's more like going to the theater, or it's more like playing a round of golf or something like that. Like there's some sense of the need for recreation, joy, and pleasure. And what's so interesting about this back and forth is that right now, what you're really looking at are, what are my long-term dreams and goals, and what am I willing to do? What childish behavior am I willing to set aside? What kind of responsibility am I willing to take on to get to the dream that I have, which is a dream with Cancer so heavily involved that may very well involve an image in the future of feeling more secure, more peaceful, more having more of a sense of at-homeness in the world or in your job, or etc. So it might be a really sweet kind of vision that you're developing right now for the future, a hope that you have of some kind. But it's being weighed against this need to really face the music, grow up, take things really seriously, set aside anything that's frivolous, or, so the 5th house Saturn Pluto vibe is kind of like, if you want joy right now, you're going to have to work for it a little bit. And there's also a theme of the future being somewhat uncertain. And even though, again, there's some kind of sweet hope on the horizon, Cancer solar eclipse in the 11th, the 5th house Saturn South Node Pluto is saying it's not going to be easy to get there. And so there may be some anxiety, some uncertainty about the future that you kind of have to walk through and deal with before you can get to the place you want to go. The other thing that could come up is just the difference between, a healthy dream and a healthy goal and unhealthy preoccupations. For example, how many people want to write a book but can't stop watching TV? You know what I mean? How many people want to have a close family and really relish their family life but can't stop working, or they can't stop going to the bar at night and drinking? You know what I mean? So what do we have to do? What kinds of compromises and what kind of work do we have to do to get to that happily ever after, sweet Cancerian place that we might want to go right now? So those are some good questions to ask ourselves this month, all of you Virgo risings, as these eclipses roll through. Now, the last major transit of the month, this all goes, what I was just mentioning, 10th through the 21st. Then the very end of the month, you're going to see another new moon coming through, again in your 12th house. And this is a Leo new moon in the 12th house, square to Uranus in the 9th. It's a revolutionary moment potentially for you this month. Your ruling planet's going retrograde. Those always represent really important turning points in your year. Here we're looking at the potential for new groups of people, with Mercury having retrograded back into your 11th house, new friends, all of that sense of wanting to turn over a new leaf, which is so much a part of the 11th house, creating a new sense of peace and happiness and trying to heal something maybe in the family. These are really important issues. But the 12th house new moon, like the Mercury and Mars station between the 8th and the 9th, square to Uranus in the 9th, you're not going to get there unless you're willing to examine your beliefs, your principles, your higher truth, and whether or not you're living by it. whether or not you're walking your talk. If you're not walking your talk, if you're just talking a big game and hoping everything will work out, but there's a really dark side, kind of secret selfish side that's just not growing up. The month ahead, and as the year winds down, you'll be facing one reckoning after another, so to speak. This is a great moment to take a chance to break free from your own shadows, to be liberated from your own bad habits. That's a new moon in the 12th square to Uranus in the 9th place of higher faith, higher truth. On the other hand, the potential to break your own principles, cheat your own inner code is there again. So you want to be really careful of that. You also have to be careful of issues around, relationships. Relationships are changing right now, and they're either demanding of you a higher standard, or you might be saying, this relationship doesn't have high enough, it's not good enough for me, and I have to leave. The need for greater independence and freedom, and the need to match up relationships with your higher truths and principles, walking your talk in the context of a relationship, very important right now, whether it's with you or with a partner. So that's what I've got for you, Virgos. I hope that this was interesting. Please let me know how your month goes. Tell me about the eclipses, and leave some comments for me. And I'm on vacation this week, like I said, but I'll be posting a few videos probably on the solar eclipse that's coming up in just a couple days now. So I hope you have a great month of July. We'll see you again in August. Take care. Bye.